This is Sean with Voices Levon, and I'm speaking with Erika, Brooke, and we're going to be talking a little bit today about your history connected to Nashville, and also you being involved in wanting to help save people's stories and businesses and families, and a little bit about your background. But how are you doing today, Erika?
Oh, I'm really good. Thanks.
So where do you live currently?
I live in Fountain Square here in Indianapolis.
And as far as how long you've been there and a little bit of your background, if you could just give us that.
Yeah, so I moved to Fountain Square in 2020. And before that, lived on the southeast side of Indy where I raised my kids and they went to high school. But then throughout life, I was born in Nashville, Indiana, and grew up down around that area with family and still go back there quite often.
All right, so we're going to touch on a few different things with what we're doing down there, essentially business histories, along with local legends, life stories, and a way for people to be able to hand out their story with their Watch Our Story cards, which you can see there on the screen. But we're going to jump into what we've actually already accomplished with you. One of our locations here in Indianapolis is the Meridian Restaurant on the near north side of Meridian Cussler. It's originally the building was built in 1880. It's an old log cabin lodge that was actually used for when the canal was built, or was going to be used for transportation depot. And we interview numerous people within the area that are influential in the community. That's a shot right there of one of the scoutmasters from the local troop and a woman who owns a business in the area. And here's a shot of you. So what did you think of, just to touch on it, the restaurant and also the fact of us being able to save people's stories in the upstairs fireplace lodge room?
Yeah, it's a beautiful restaurant. I had a friend who had a wedding reception there too, so have some experience. And then the location, being right there in the community, it's warm. It's a fun room to capture stories in.
So another aspect that's more of an umbrella is indiestories.com. It has a lot of the major people that we've been able to interview over the years, and also essentially what we do, and that ranges from race legends like the Unsers to Bobby Plump from the movie Hoosiers, Dallas Clark, and a lot of other people. Here's a shot of the Unsers. We actually were hired to do 50 different documentaries about them, including Mario Andretti and Michael Andretti, and bringing it back down to Nashville. And we're going to get into your family situations and history. But here's an example of the Nashville Chop House. That's one of the organizations we've done their history, and as well as a gentleman who lived behind the Red Barn for about 40 years. We did an interview, kind of the same style, to discuss his deceased wife, honor his children, and also the history of the area. But let's get into yours. So this is your home, or original home, that you said was, how old was the original home? And I know it's close to the Red Bridge in Bean Blossom.
Yeah, so that's actually the home that my family built. There's another cabin on the property that was the original that they moved into when my mom was young. I think she was a teenager. And then later they built that with the help of my dad and my uncle and grandparents. And so lived there for quite a bit of my younger childhood, right by that bridge.
So let's talk just a little bit about, your passions and connections with Nashville. I know that you've helped people at end of life, and just speak to a moment about, you being able to help save people's stories through an interviewing process and what you feel you're going to get out of that.
Sure. So I went through a little certification process to become a death doula, helping people with end of life. And a lot of that came from my own personal experience with many people dying. But through exploring that is when I realized that one of the things that's so important at the end of life that could be important earlier is sharing our stories and being able to feel like we can pass memories on, or life lessons. And so when I saw your post about it, I really wanted to get involved and to see how I could combine some of that end of life stuff with maybe while we're full of life force and the power of storytelling.
Right. And in the post you're referring to is my great aunt. She was one of 9, and my grandmother in 2010, that's who it actually started with, of doing seniors' life stories and then entire families' memories of the seniors. But let's dive back into this original log cabin. How long ago? Do you happen to know the years of when that was built?
I don't for sure. I think it was built when I was alive, but it could have been before that. I don't know. I just know that was where my grandparents lived, and we spent so much time there. My grandma used to rock me on that back porch. I remember my mom's mom.
So your kids are grown now, but here's a couple of shots of your two of three of your children on the red bridge. And how old do you think they are in this picture?
Like 8 and 10, maybe 10 and 12. But I would take them down there a lot too. We'd still play in the creek some and walk across that bridge. So
Was it very nostalgic for them to, be able to kind of play where mom and grandparents used to live?
I think so. I think they appreciate it even more now that they're older, right? At the time, it was just getting into it, but yeah, they still go down there sometimes as well. And my uncle does live right near there still, so I still see that bridge often.
And on one side of the family, this Wes and Carmen. Is that the grandparents that he was the preacher at this church? Is that correct?
Yeah, so this was my dad's dad on that side, the Powells. My grandpa, Wes Powell, pastored this Duncan church for several years towards the end of his life.
And where was it located?
It's right on the road going towards Yellowwood. So maybe it's Yellowwood Road. I don't know if it has another name, but it's right off of 46 as you turn to go into Yellowwood.
Now, your family actually is also buried here in the cemetery. Is that also correct?
Yep, that's correct.
So this church, it's not in operation anymore. Is anybody still maintaining it, or is it pretty much just a local historical location?
I think it's just abandoned in a little historical location. I don't know for sure. I know every time I've gone past it, the windows are covered and you can't get in. And when I was looking it up to prepare for our conversation, it does say it's permanently closed. That's all I know.
Okay. Well, here's a little honoring of them with their stones there in the cemetery. And let's go into is this the other side of the family? Is this?
Yep, this is my mom's side.
Jean and Dolores and your kids with them? Is that accurate?
Yep, that's a picture of them in Nashville. Oh gosh, 19 years ago, 18 years ago.
That's beautiful. So do you take the kids down there often? Do you still go down there? Do you also have, besides your uncle, other family and friends down there?
Yep, still. So my kids go on, I mean, they're grown, so they go on their own some. This is a little getaway. We love Brown County State Park, Yellowwood, and then just hanging around in Nashville too.
So here's a shot again of Wes and Carmen. And how long ago do you think this was taken?
Oh, at least 20 years. So, because he died in 2000. So maybe 25 years, 30 years ago.
So what's some of your, I don't know, if you were going to describe their personality, if you're going to describe some aspects of just how they were and, maybe a little bit of backstory, what would you say?
Well, my grandpa was really involved in ministry. That was a big life passion of his. So he ran that church, but he also did a prison ministry. It's called Unchained Ministries or something like that. It was with kind of a bicycle group. He was a chaplain at those prisons, and my grandma was always really supportive as far as cooking and serving in the community where he was preaching. So she outlived him by 8 years, and we actually lived together some even towards the end of her life. She's very nurturing, down to earth, wise woman, and he was more the front man, pastor, and I know he impacted a lot of people's lives.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit to your mom. Now, your mom, her father was Wes and mother was Carmen. Is that right?
No. Nope. Her mom and dad were Jean and Dolores. They're the ones that lived in the house. Yeah.
Okay. So if you were going to describe this is a great question as far as when we interview people about their families and whatnot. What aspects of your mother do you admire and that are different from you? And then what things are similar to you?
Sure. One of the things that my mom that I really admire is her ability to kind of just nurture and care for her family and the people around her. She's really good at making things special. sort of just that extra mile. She's a great listener, and actually she did some of the end of life stuff too, the No One Dies Alone, that kind of inspired me. And so where we're different, we're different in a lot of ways that are just, I mean, I'm probably more outspoken and more into storytelling and getting people's stories and sharing. And she's a little more private about life and things. So she's got a really powerful story of her own throughout life. And I love how she's navigated that. She's a great mom and a great grandma to my kids, even a great grandma now. So my sister's kids have kids too. So
Beautiful. And here's a life moment shot of your grandmother Dolores on her 90th birthday. And where was this?
We were just at Carrabba's here on the south side of Indy, and my mom was with us that day too. And yeah, we got to celebrate her 90th birthday. She's still alive, but has been diagnosed recently with a terminal. I mean, you're 90, so, but also has been diagnosed with cancer. So she doesn't have a lot of time left.
Well, hopefully we can help her stories live on. What would you say would be something, just kind of a favorite memory of you and her one-on-one just throughout your life, with some good bonding moments?
Yeah, I mentioned one, which was at that house, that back screened-in porch. We spent a lot of time with my grandparents and roaming that property. And I just remember her rocking me when I was really little for nap time, and we would be out on the porch. And that's one of my early memories with her. And then I would say here more in adult life, one time she said to me, Erika, one thing I love about you is I can always count on you to tell me the truth. And that just encouraged me a lot.
That's beautiful.
More that it's sometimes welcome.
That's great. So we're going to switch it over to a local in Nashville, and he works at the Brown County Playhouse. And this is your uncle, Eric. So why don't you tell a little bit about, maybe some fun experiences you've had with Eric over the years, and also about his passion for the theater and working at the Playhouse.
Yeah. So my uncle was easily the strongest male role model in my life growing up. He lived down in Brown County too. So my sister, my cousin, and I would go down there. He called it Camp Eric. And he introduced us to all kinds of just different foods and restaurants. We'd go into Bloomington a lot. And we're still really close today, and we hang out still. So really grateful for his soul in my life. And as far as working at the Brown County Playhouse, I think he tends bar there or serves behind the counter and knows a lot of people, having been there his whole life.
I actually was there last fall. There's a local musician that plays around the country, but his name is Rich Hardesty. He had an event there, and it was really great. As far as the staff and everything, I got to talk with a lot of people about, doing the saving the Nashville stories and whatnot. But I was also amazed how big the theater was. It was, it was a lot bigger. I went there when I was a lot younger, but it's a beautiful spot, especially because of the storefront. Kind of makes you think it's a little bit smaller venue when you get inside. Have you been able to see any things in there over the years?
Yeah, I've been to several different things there. And you're right. I think the outside of it kind of reminds me of an old time saloon or something. It looks like it's going to be really small. And then you go inside and realize how much capacity it has.
Right.
It's a great menu.
So back to this example, this is one of, if you look at the card on there, that's Rick Evans. He's with WHCC 105.1, the country rock station, and we've done his story, and he's got a lot of great details that he talked about with Nashville, but a couple other ones just to touch on. This is close to the IGA. The Lion's Head there is a jiu-jitsu location that's within the Y, next to the IGA, and Tyson, he's a really great guy, but that right there is a card that he can hand out to people so they can watch the story, as well as that gentleman to the other side, him living behind the Red Barn, he's able to hand his story out as well. And a few other ones. One that we actually did, which was Rocky Rice. He had Rocky's Pizza out of Bloomington. He's now passed away. That was at an event, concert at the Red Barn, but then also the Grand Wood Suites Hotel, and again, the Chop House. And I'm sure that everybody knows the chainsaw gentleman who's been making chainsaw art for a long time. There's a lot of cool ones on NashvilleIndianaStories.com, but I'm looking forward to you helping us not just save the stories in Nashville, but also up here in Indianapolis. Is there anything else you'd like to say in general about being able to be involved in kind of the importance of interviewing and saving the stories of seniors, families, and businesses?
Well, I'm just really excited about it. And I love that you have this platform and the way that you've captured it. Your QR code idea is really powerful, right? Because then people not only can capture the story, but share it more easily with others. And I really love, as a kind of a life passion or a life existence, to hear other people's stories and just walk them through it and talk about it. And it's just fun to see those light up moments like we had at the Meridian with that woman who really was in the middle of something and realized, wow, I got feedback that I had this powerful impact on people, and she almost teared up. So I love that. I just think that that's what makes life worth living. I mean, there's a lot of things that make life worth living, but that's one of them.
Well, I'm really excited to have you involved, and I look forward to how many individuals, groups, and people that we can help save their stories. But I know because of your background and your intellect that you're going to be great as we get you to the point of being able to handle people and individuals and companies on your own. So, Erika, I look forward to the road ahead, and I thank you for being involved and being inspired by Voices Live On.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for inspiring us.
You got it.